Hey guys, welcome to 12 Days of Caketastrophe. So for this year, I thought maybe I'll do something with the 12 Days of Christmas, a little bit different than usual. Doing 12 recipes straight through will be a little bit difficult. I already do quite a lot every month, usually as much as I can, and it's a bit hard to prepare that many in advance, especially at this time of the month. I'm usually quite busy, and I've been a little bit unwell. But I thought I'd do something a little bit more interesting. It's been a while that I've been considering talking about just sort of like little failures or little hiccups, mess-ups, things that have happened when I was making desserts in the past, in all these 4 to 5 years that I've been doing it really actively. And it's just a nice thing to laugh at, it's entertaining, and it's also just, I mean, in the moment usually it's pretty frustrating and pretty horrid, but when you look back at it, it's a very good entertainment, and it really motivates you to kind of learn to deal with the failures that kind of happen during baking, and you just kind of learn to move past it very quickly every time something does happen again. But most of the experiences have been pretty hilarious, so I thought I'd share it with you guys for what I call the 12 Days of Catastrophe, which is just things terrible happening. So I managed to find a story, just a brief one for every single day of the 12 days, and I'll be sharing with you, so don't forget to click like and subscribe, and also to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the videos in these 12 days. So we're going to start with the first story today, which is a pretty bad one called the cake box. I mean the chocolate box. Yes, getting the name wrong. I just woke up, so the chocolate box. So I went to pastry school and studied for like 3 separate semesters and 3 basically separate levels, from beginners all the way through to advanced. I think this was probably intermediate or advanced, and then that I did the chocolate box, and then after that you basically moved on to industry placement. Obviously I already finished that from like 4 or 5 years ago. One of the topics of the class was to learn how to temper chocolate and also master using it, and I wasn't doing very well already because I, one, did not really understand like the tempering of chocolate at the time until basically that class, and then 2, the methods that they were offering were not the easiest sometimes. Like the table tempering method was the one I saw the most on TV and all that, so I always went for that one, but really that was the hardest one for me, and it was just really messy to clean up, and if you're interested, I actually have a video of how I do it now, where I succeeded this year and found it much easier, is using the seeding method. So I'll leave the link below, you can check that out. I think it's so much easier and it's just much cleaner to, like, there's hardly any mess to clean up, to be honest, so it's nicer. And if you mess up, you could just start from the same equipments already with everything where it should be again. Anyway, so we tempered chocolate, and the whole class's idea was basically, usually the chef demonstrates to you in one of the theory classes, and then you sit back, you watch it on a TV screen or watch the chef in front of you in a big lecture room, and then we moved to the kitchen after that class for another class, which is the practical. And then from the practical class, you basically need to do it. So we were offered a lot of things like really high quality chocolate, usually Caliboard I think, and we also had chocolate sheets, like the cocoa butter sheets with like imprinted patterns made from cocoa butter, where you basically stick it onto chocolate, and then when the heat of the chocolate basically lets the pattern stick to it. So I was struggling with tempering chocolate at the time, and most of the chocolate I had was often not tempered if I did any chocolate work, and the kitchen was pretty cold at the time with the aircon and all that, so I remember that whenever I did temper it, I would over temper it, so it would be basically completely set too quickly before I finished working with it, so it would be really rough, ugly and all that kind of stuff, or I would just have it not tempered and just be like scraping away and trying to make it work. So with the chocolate box, it was basically kind of like making like a bonbons or some sort of candies, cake, chocolate box, but the box itself is completely made out of different sheets of chocolate. So you basically have to like cut, measure, make sure everything fit together, and obviously, most importantly, make sure the chocolate is tempered or it wouldn't stay solid and stand up at room temperature. So let's just say mine was not tempering, and there's a limited amount of time in class. So I was like, shoot. I was like, oh my god, it's not tempered. What do I do? And then people were starting to put theirs together. Mine was like sticking to the paper, and it was just too soft. It wasn't setting, and I could tell it wasn't setting because set chocolate should set up by itself pretty quickly. Tempered chocolate should set up pretty quickly in that kind of temperature, where it's nice and slightly cold in our kitchen, and there wasn't a lot of hot stuff going on. So I tried to make it a bit more interesting when I was making it as well, and I took one of the cocoa butter sheets, the transfer sheets, that's what they're called, to put on the lid part of my design, and I did like, I think like a kind of like a pentagon kind of shape, basically keeping it, I guess, like as few pieces as possible, but also straight so it's easy to work with. So my first instinct was to run into the walk-in freezer. So when other people were putting theirs together and I knew I didn't have much time left, I basically took all my parts on a tray, ran into the cold walk-in freezer, and then just like stood in there for like 10 minutes, and I was just like, yeah, this will set it up, this will hold it together. And I was like thinking, but then it's gonna probably start becoming soft and coming to room temperature like ASAP as soon as I take it out and it's format. So I was like, okay, because we also have to usually display things individually or together as a group and show our final product to get the chef to see it and evaluate it for the class. Yeah, so I actually don't even remember if I passed that class. I probably shouldn't have, so I probably didn't. But basically, yeah, so I went into the freezer. Sometimes people came in to grab something, or, you know, just to chill their tempered chocolate, so it kind of helps it move along a bit faster, so they won't be so rushed in time. I'd be like standing there, be like looking a bit guilty, but trying not to, and they'd be like, oh hey, and I'd be like, yeah, hey, yeah, no, yeah, my chocolate's great, yeah, cool. And then, so when it got to assembling it, I stuck everything together with a bit of extra chocolate, ended up with something that looked like a box. The transfer sheet was like orange on my dark chocolate, and it was like a really ugly pattern actually that I chose, and it just did not look really good. Some parts of it didn't completely transfer, so it's kind of like half stuck on, so it looked pretty bad. So the funniest part, I think, was when it came to displaying it. So the chef was like, alright guys, start bringing it up, we're going to wrap up the class, and we're going to evaluate everything. Everyone did so well. Everyone did so many boxes that looks just good, like if not amazing, and I was just like horrified, like trying to mix mine in between. I was just like, where is the least obvious place that I can blend mine in? Put my box on, staring at it the whole time, because that was the only one that was kind of like starting to condensate because of the huge difference of bringing in the freezer and then coming straight out towards like the very end, in case it like just melted together or stuck to anyone's finger when they touch it. God helps if like the chef actually touched mine. And so when he was marking, he was pretty brutal actually. The chef was like, yeah, great, I really like the technique used here, yeah, that looks great, really good creativity, yeah, and he kind of like indirectly but also directly acknowledged mine all at once. He was just like, and yeah, so and so, I think we know what your problem is. Anyway, so this one, and yeah, rude. So yeah, I was pretty discouraged about chocolate work for sure, and I hated it. I literally like, I don't even remember if I managed to pick it up straight up, but I guess I did because it was very cold still. So I picked it up, threw it in the bin, and tried not to think about chocolate for a very long time. I'm pretty sure I semi-succeeded in tempering a small piece of chocolate, but I over-tempered it when I was doing my final exam for making an original cake, and it was really ugly. And then it wasn't until like 4 years later, like this year, that I actually tried tempering chocolate again and actually succeeded. So you know what, this story just tells you to continue to try hard, and sometimes you just need time and a correct strategy that suits you to kind of get to where you need to be for learning things like this, and you will be able to temper chocolate even if it hurt you so bad that you refuse to try it again for 4 years. But I still did it.